Get us started with the preliminary parts. Welcome. I'm Beth Schaefer. I'm the director for the Institute for Professional Development. We are the university's non-credit customized professional development arm. We specialize in business architecture, public sector supervision, DEI, and other leadership topics. Today I have Karen LaPlant with me for your expert and your facilitator, and I will circle back to Karen in a little bit. I do want to talk a little bit about what IPD does before we get started, and also give you a reminder that we do record the session. Any comments that you may make at the end might be shared. They might get edited out. But just be aware that they are part of the recording. And then the chat, though, doesn't appear. So if you put questions and such in chat, that doesn't show up on the recording. Here we go. So IPD, I've been showing the slide for the last couple months as we've been adding new pieces. We've got a lot of options up and running now. So you are familiar with our customized training and, of course, free expert insights webinars because you're here. Our free workplace blogs. We've recently added graduate credit for completing the public sector supervision course. We have just put up on our website that we do customized design thinking training for your organizations. Although we've been doing this type of work for a while, we haven't really advertised it. So I'm excited that that is up on the website now. Human-centered design is becoming a hot topic, and it falls under the design thinking training category. And of course, we are now offering many digital badge certificates. So as I said, Karen LaPlant is here with us today, and she is from the IT Center of Excellence. Many of you may not be kind of familiar with the structure of MinnState, and it certainly is a lot more arms than this slide shows. I've really pared it down so you can see who you're interacting with today. There's a college and universities arm. That's where Metro State University falls under, and IPD is part of Metro State. And then there's a Center of Excellence arm, and under that is where the IT Center of Excellence resides. The Centers of Excellence are set up to funnel and prepare people to work in fields in Minnesota where we need more high-skilled workers. And so there are 7 of them. I'm not going to name them all, but know that Karen is coming to us from the IT Center of Excellence. And while there's 7 centers, they all kind of do a little bit of different work. In my experience in working with the IT Center of Excellence, I know they've provided training to high school and middle school teachers in the IT field to help encourage high schools to prepare and funnel students into the IT career pathways. I know that they work with employers to identify IT talent gaps and then work with the MinnState school system to design education pathways to fill those gaps. I know they also encourage women, veterans, BIPOC, and other marginalized groups that aren't traditionally part of IT careers to consider IT fields and help them find their way into IT. And they do a whole lot more, which I'm sure Karen will tell you about, and you will discover more of that today. In conjunction with the nationwide focus on cybersecurity that happens every October, the IT Center of Excellence is providing free cybersecurity training for workplace employees. So to help promote that effort, IPD has invited Karen LaPlant to be our speaker today. Karen is a retired educator from Hennepin Technical College, also part of the MinnState system, where she taught in the IT program and created the e-business program. As Karen presents today, you will learn a lot about cybersecurity, but you will probably also learn more about her work with the IT Center of Excellence and what they have coming up for October's Cybersecurity Month. As we get started here today, Karen is requesting that you hold your questions to the end. So please keep your mics muted until that time. You can add questions to the chat as we go. But Karen's going to answer all those also at the end, but I will be the one trying to keep track of those so that we don't lose them during the course of the presentation and that we get them all answered. And Karen told me she anticipates that we will have time to answer all your questions. I think that's the end of what I have to say. So I'm going to stop sharing and that will allow Karen to begin.
Welcome. As Beth said, my name is Karen LaPlant. I am part-time since I retired at Metro State in the IT Center of Excellence, where I've been helping for the last 7 years designing high demand content in the areas of data analytics, cybersecurity, programming, areas like this. I also teach online at several Minnesota State Colleges. What the Minnesota State IT Center of Excellence does is it helps all Minnesota youth and adults pursue computer science and tech careers through low or no cost resources and other programming that help develop these high demand workforce skills. The center brings awareness of IT fields in Minnesota currently lacking enough trained professionals and helps to build knowledge around career pathways where that gap is expected to grow. So as participants today, you will learn about some computer security basics. I will share some security tips with you. I will give you the information that you need to understand the nature of the threats that you face. And at the end of my presentation, you can download 2 resources from the chat in Zoom. So we want you to learn simple things that you can do, because the purpose of security training is to give you a brief overview. This session is geared towards employees, but it's really good for anyone or everyone to know. This is important both at home and at work. Remember, users are the weak link in your network security. So user training is the best practice to bolster that cyber defense. Educate users and help them understand the critical role they play in preventing data breaches. When developing a cybersecurity awareness training, you must lay a strong foundation by first covering the basics. My tip is keep it simple. Give users the information they need to understand the increasingly very sophisticated nature of the threats they faced every day. So I broke it out to subtopics. The topics are: you are the target, social engineering, email and messaging, browsing and malware, social networks, mobile device security, passwords, data security, and then, last but not least, report an IT security incident. First, we'll start off by talking about you. So why does computer security or any of the content even matter to you? In short, you have things attackers want, okay? What do I mean by that? Well, typically attackers are looking for 2 particular things. They want your data, which, trust me, is valuable, so they can benefit financially somehow. Then they want control of your computer, so they can launch additional attacks to try to penetrate even deeper into the organization and get at data they could not previously. This is some of the information. If you think about it, there's a treasure of information all around you. The school or the business has plenty of valuable things any attacker would love to have. Things like, financial records, research data, classified contracts, credit cards, social security numbers, and other things, okay? In the wrong hands, the disclosure of this information could prove devastating. We do not want that to happen. Attackers can use your computer to gain more access and attack further into the institution, okay? Even if you don't have any of these on your computer, you're surrounded by other computers, servers, and networks that do. Attackers know how to pivot from one computer to another. That's what a lot of people don't understand. And by taking over your computer, they can then continue to find other valuable information. They can breach your firewall, they can get to your computer, and then they get to the server at the business, the school, or the company. So incidents are not uncommon. Unfortunately, breaches are becoming more common. In the past, Target, Home Depot, and Neiman Marcus had their entire US store operations compromised by hackers. A few years ago, TJ Maxx almost declared bankruptcy due to the same thing. JP Morgan Chase and the FBI are working together to investigate a significant breach involving 83 million accounts. Sony Pictures had their entire organization breached, including the loss of several finished movies and manuscripts. Colleges and universities are no stranger to this, nor are businesses. About once a week, an institution of higher education is a victim, incurring financial and reputation damage. In the past, there have been major breaches at the University of Maryland, Indiana University, and North Dakota University, just to say a few. So data breaches can happen. In conclusion, there's a great need for computer security, and really you're the target. Data breaches are serious things and they can happen here. With our current focus on keeping and growing enrollment, just as any business would be growing, any sort of financial or reputation damage due to a breach of computer security can be devastating. Thankfully, with your help and vigilance, we can all do our part to prevent this from happening. Fake sites have recently spiked by 260%, so the risk is real. Can you look at these two images and tell which online store is legit? Now, I put the real one in green and the fake one in red, and I've circled it in red. The only real difference you might see is how they spelled out the name of the company. Sometimes it's a wrong spelling, sometimes they use a different letter from a different alphabet, okay? Something very that you really have to be looking for, okay? Easy to miss. Okay. Social engineering. The definition would be the clever manipulation of the natural human tendency to trust. So social engineering scams are among the hardest to avoid because there's no technical safeguards that can protect your organization. If an employee falls into a trap, and that's what happens, the end goals could be highly technical, breaking into your network and stealing data or files, or low tech, gaining access to a storeroom or a filing cabinet. Whatever the end game, social engineers build relationships to take advantage of the human tendency to be trusting and non-confrontational. Oftentimes, these occur when someone will call you, email, text you, or in person indicating that your computer is infected and they must help you to clean it up. They use acronyms that make it confusing for you. They might ask you to find legitimate files that are on your computer. When you find them, they indicate that they should not be there and that you are compromised. Once you are tricked into believing that you are infected, they will tell you to go to a website and buy their software, claiming it's an antivirus. But in reality, it's an infected program that will really give them control of your computer. Here are some of the signs that someone may be trying to trick you. If they start asking for information they should really not have access to, if they use confusing or technical terms, and if they have a real sense of urgency to them. These are all signs to watch out for. The next topic today is how to identify and protect yourself against fraudulent emails. You may be asking yourself, why all the fuss about email? The numbers prove email attacks are the primary source of all infections, breaches, and compromised accounts. There are a few reasons why this is the case. Number one, email attacks are virtually free. Any attacker can send out millions of messages per hour, costing a few dollars. Number two, email attacks are very simple and easy. There are people with no actual computer skills sending out the attacks by using simple point and click interfaces. Number three, email is fundamentally insecure. The original email standards came out in 1982, a time when the internet was much smaller. Here's a couple of things you need to know. There's different types of email attacks. We're going to talk about three of them: phishing, spear phishing, and whaling. You may have heard of phishing before, but you may not have heard of spear phishing or whaling. So you may need to be able to know what these are. Phishing, with the PH, refers to sending emails that the receiver never asked for in hopes of duping the receiver into giving up some information or personal information. Spear phishing takes things up a notch, where attackers try and personalize the attack, saying like just for you, including things like your name, where you work, where you live, making you believe their emails are legitimate. Finally, whaling is the pinnacle of email attacks. Phishing messages targeted specifically to the VIPs of the organization. The attackers hope that the executive have the most valuable information to steal. That's why it's called whaling. Email attacks work. Email attacks work, and in quite a big way. I don't know if you remember, but years back there was a Target breach. Guess how it all happened? An HVAC contractor for Target fell victim to a phishing attack, and the attackers were able to pivot from the contractor over to the corporate headquarters, and from there into the cash registers and 70 million breach credit reports. The makers of the tiny secure fobs we see around fell victim when one of their own employees fell victim to a phishing attack. In this case, a person in HR was sent a malicious document which he opened, and his workstation was infected. From there, the attacker gained a foothold, worked his way through the entire network, all the way to the secrets of their bread and butter, their two-factor token algorithm. The secure code that runs these keys got stolen, and as a result, the attackers then were able to access suppliers to the U.S. Department of Defense. Not good. Finally, email attacks have been successful against our own employees. A few things to remember in order for phishing attacks to work. The victim has to actually do something and agree to be phished. This is done by either opening an attachment in an email message or clicking on a link inside the email body. If you open up an unknown attachment, that will likely run a virus that compromises your computer. If you click on a link in that phishing email, one or two things can happen. Either you will be redirected to a page where it will ask you to type in your username and password, or it will try to send a virus or malware to your computer through your web browser. And these are a success. So attachments, 9 to 10%. Clicking a link, asking for your password, 9 to 10%. And attackers sending a virus through browser, 18 to 20%. Okay, so they can send out thousands of these and hope to get 10 to 20%. Now, do be clear about the difference between email attacks and phishing. Let's take a good look at a phishing email and try and identify some of the telltale signs that is a scam. First, we have a weird sender address, something I do not recognize. Okay. We have the scary and official looking capital text that tries to grab our attention. I see they're trying to tell me about my mailbox, a scare tactic. Finally, there's the bad grammar in English. In the email, or an unprofessional signature block. All of these things should be in small red flags that start popping up in your brain when you see them. And when you start getting red flags, you should know to be extra careful before opening any attachments or clicking on any links. It's time to learn the safety trick called hovering. A common trick is for attackers to hide their website they are taking you to. Thankfully, it's real easy to get past this charade. Just take your mouse and hold it over any link you think may be suspicious. Make sure you don't click, just hold it. After a moment, you should see a pop-up that describes the URL you are going to. Make sure to examine and watch out for unexpected websites. Even though phishing attacks are serious business, there are easy things you can do to protect yourself. First and foremost, only click on links or open attachments that are both from people you trust and are things you're expecting to receive. That is important, as I may get something that looks like it is from my boss, but if it is sent at 3 a.m. and does not look like her writing style, I'm not touching it until I can speak with her the next day. You can watch out for bad spelling and grammar, as well as an abundance of capital letters. The majority of phishing attackers do not use English as their native language, so sometimes inconsistencies are easier to spot. It's also important to not explicitly trust whoever it says in the from field from an email. That name and address can be forged very easily and can be written to say it comes from your boss, the president, or the Dalai Lama. I had several come that said they were from me, and I didn't send them. They were just spoofing me. If you get a phish stating your account may be locked so that or your mailbox is full or nearly its quota, realize these are very common scams that should be ignored. Knowing all this, if you think an email is fishy, the resolution is simple. Just get confirmation through other means that it is legit. Give the person a call. Stop by their office. It's better to be safe than sorry. Finally, it's time for another cheesy rhyme. This is my favorite. When in doubt, throw it out. So deleted emails can't hurt you. Look for the signs of a fake. Phishing messages can take many forms. Some of them look practically legitimate. Others can look rather sloppy and thrown together. Either way, like I said, look out for spelling and grammar mistakes, suspicious links, attachments, requests for personal or financial information. The visual design and layout that differs from what we typically use, a message that tells you to call. So there are fake everything out there. I was on one the other day that was a fake post office, United States Post Office. It looked very similar, but not exactly. What to do if your emails aren't getting through? More and more federal security regulations, many email providers are increasing their filtering and blocking of emails. Unfortunately, this means more and more important mails are getting mislabeled as spam or junk. There's a list of suggestions you can try to ensure your important emails, like your utility bills, make it to your inbox at home. You may need to click on the email provider's help section for more specific instructions. You do want to remember to mark an email as not spam or not junk in the junk folder before you move it back to your inbox. Add the sender's email address to your contacts. Place trusted contacts or websites on the safe sender or safe domains list, also called the whitelist. Set up a rule or filter to send emails from a trusted contact to it directly or to a website directly. So look for the signs of a fake. Phishing messages take many forms. Some of them can look practically legitimate. Others look rather sloppy and thrown together, like I said, okay? Attackers are vigilant and launch their attacks accordingly. They launch excuse me. If you see a warning against visiting a site, don't visit the site, okay? Now, do not keep your browser current, okay? There's a lot of browsers, keep it current. Do not install plugins or add-ons, and scan files that you've downloaded with any antivirus software. Those are some good tips or best practices, okay? A padlock before or after your URL indicates it is safe and safe site and has been verified. So you can see I've got the green arrow pointing to the padlock up in the right-hand corner. Check for this when typing in your username and password on sites. If you're ever unsure where a link will go, type it in manually. What is malware? Malware is really malicious software used to describe a variety of bad things. You've probably heard of viruses and worms. You may have even heard of ransomware, Trojan horses, and spyware. Okay. So it describes any sort of software that does unwanted or unauthorized things. Malware is used by attackers to take control of your computer and your data. It's an umbrella term that includes things like I said, viruses, Trojan horses, worms, spyware, and ransomware. We need to keep malware off your computers. How bad could malware be? Malware is so sophisticated and complicated that frequently it's impossible to get rid of it without formatting your whole computer and starting fresh. Malware these days finds too many nooks and crannies to burrow into that make it impossible to guarantee you actually got rid of it all. An example of some bad malware is called CryptoBlocker. It finds all your files and documents on your computer and on attached servers, encrypts them, then demands money before it lets your files go back to you. Attackers use malware to steal our data and our computer resources. This can happen in a variety of ways. Malware can also come in through loose USB drives, flash drives that are laying around. Malware can be placed on servers by attackers who exploit bad configurations or even old versions of software. They can add malware, can be deposited on your computer from visiting websites, even one that you trust. Okay, so all sorts of ways. USB sticks or flash drives that we carry around can spread malware. A very common tactic is for attackers to load a bunch of USB sticks with malware, conveniently drop or forget them in certain areas, like hallways, conference rooms, even on the sidewalk. They are just waiting for someone to pick them up, plug them in, and launch the malware that's waiting inside. Don't be a victim. If you find an unknown flash drive, give it to IT services, and we will connect it to an isolated computer to see what's on it. Malware can also spread through something that many people would consider traditional hacking. Attackers scouring the internet, looking for computers and servers that have known vulnerabilities they can try to exploit. This is easily fixed simply by keeping servers patched and updated. One of the most common ways for your computer to get infected with malware is what is known as a drive-by attack. This kind of attack happens when you're browsing the web. The attacker takes advantage of old and updated software that we commonly use, such as Java, Flash, Adobe Reader, things like that. This attack happens silently and is in the background, even when you are visiting so-called safe sites. So be careful. So how can you protect yourself against malware that can come from so many different places? There are some simple things you can do. First, watch what you click. Number one, watch what you click. Use the hovering technique that you learned about earlier in phishing to watch where you go before you click. Don't visit risky websites, sites that seem shady or too good to be true. Make sure that you keep an antivirus program on your computer so that if something does inadvertently slip through, there's another level of defense that can help stop it. Additionally, make sure that your operating system and your applications are being kept up to date too. In concluding our topic of malicious software, we talked about the different types of malware and that it can come from a number of sources, including USB or flash drives, emails, and websites. We went through a list of some simple protections you can do to stop the download and spread of malware, as well as reinforce the fact that if your machine is infected, you really need to let someone know as soon as possible. That's the call for help. Social networks. Social networking websites are one of the most exciting newer technologies on the internet these days. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, many more. They all have, however, the risks that come with these networks, social networks, that you need to be aware of. People can use the information you post on these to steal your identity. Facebook does offer privacy controls, however, but they can be complex, change often, and do not always work as you expect. So just remember, any information you put out there will become public. So my rule of thumb is, if you don't want your boss or your coworker or your family or your grandma or somebody to see it, don't post it. Watch what others post about you. Protect yourself. Assume any information you post will eventually become public, regardless of what privacy controls you use. If you do not want anybody to see that, do not post it. Cyber attacks may attempt to fool you on social networking, just like they do through email. A common way for them to do this is to hack into your account, post messages pretending to be you. Like in Facebook, they can go in and set up a whole new account, take your picture, and it looks like it's you, and they get into your friends and they start inviting people to join them, and they're really not you. So be careful. If you get suspicious messages from a friend, call them to check if they really sent it, the message. Be careful of third-party applications that integrate with social network sites. Only install applications you need and only get them from known, trusted sites. So be wary of third-party. Many are good, but many are not. Mobile device security, that's one of the newer areas. Finally, make sure you're protecting your data by protecting the small portable devices that we carry around, like our cell phones. Many times we don't think of them as having the same importance because they're our own personal devices, right? Well, they are, but the line between personal and work is blurred. My personal phone has my family pictures on it, but it might also sync up with my work email. So there's no easy way to keep the two sides apart. The biggest area we run into with problems is when the devices get lost or stolen. There are toolkits that allow hackers to easily view files, email, and other data on your smartphone if they can get a hold of it. There's 4 easy tips here. So on your phone, you could use a passcode or the fingerprint, okay, instead of just a PIN, the password. Set your device to auto lock, okay? Do not jailbreak. Ever try to break into your device? And last but not least, enable remote tracking. Like on my iPhone, it's called Find My Phone, okay? Here are some things we can do to reduce the risk and completely prevent data from getting into the wrong hands if we happen to misplace our portable devices. Passcode or finger ID and require it for every use. A locked device makes it harder for attackers to access your data. The newer Apple iPhones have a great feature called Touch ID, and if you don't have that set up, you should do that immediately. Second your device to lock automatically. If your phone is inactive for 1 minute, it should automatically go to sleep and require that a passcode or a fingerprint to work again. Third, do not root or jailbreak your phone. This refers to making unauthorized changes to your phone in an effort to get around some manufacturer restriction. This typically has you running some unknown or unauthorized program on your phone, and doing that places all your data in great jeopardy. Finally, enable remote tracking and remote wipe feature if possible. Apple has their Find My Phone service, which works with all Apple devices, and Android Device Manager has the same thing. In the event that your device gets lost or stolen, you can pull up a map of where your device was last located to help law enforcement recover your phone. For extra safety, you can even send a kill command to your phone to remotely wipe all of your data to make sure the thief gets nothing. So be sure, like I said, if you have an iPhone like I did, turn on Find My iPhone. It's under settings. You go into iCloud, put in your Apple ID, and then just turn it on. And be sure to enable in Android Device Manager if you have an Android. Very simple, easy thing to do once. Passwords. Our next topic will be passwords. Once somebody knows your password, they can steal your identity or access all your personal information. Let's learn what makes a good password and how to use them securely. We all have many passwords associated with various accounts applications, and sites. Keeping, credentialing, and managing passwords is a painful process. It's painful to you because it's an annoyance to keep track of everything. Everyone has several accounts that have been created sometime in their lifetime. We can't count them all, and yet we are supposed to manage them all. Okay? Could be your paycheck, could be your bank, could be your credit cards, any number of things, your loans, your mortgage, everything. So keep your account safe by, as you learn about your password, some things you can do to help attackers out. This topic wouldn't be complete without some reminders on the things that you should never do with your passwords, such as never share your password. If you share your password, even with IT staff, they are working on a particular issue with you, you should change it after work is completed. Never talk about your passwords in front of others. Never reveal them in an email or in person or on a questionnaire. Never write them down. I've seen, I don't know how many people stored them on little sticky notes, either on their desk or on their computer at work. Never save passwords in web browsers or computer programs. Instead, type it in every time you need it. Finally, never reuse a password between systems. It's frustrating and seems counterintuitive, but there's a good example why. In 2012, a large breach occurred at LinkedIn. And by large breach, we're talking about the details of 6.5 million accounts, including their passwords. Although the passwords were encrypted, LinkedIn did a terrible job encrypting them. So it was trivial to crack and translate them back into the actual plain text passwords that users would type in every day to access their accounts. If an attacker knows your password and also knows what area of the country you live in, they can make some educated guesses on other accounts you may have. If you reuse that password, they will be able to get in. So what we want to do is safeguard your credentials. Airtight. So to wrap up this topic of passwords, let me recap the key points. Your network account is the gateway into all of your data, so protect it like you would anything else that's precious. And in short, never, never, never share your password with anyone. Now we're on to data security. Now that we have a better understanding of why we need to have IT security, let's go on to our next topic, how to actually protect our data and keep it safe. People often ask me, why lock your computer if you're just going to the next room to get a printout or you're visiting the bathroom? Well, you may ask, do I really have to lock my computer every time I get up to go visit the printer or the bathroom? Yes, for two practical reasons. Most offices are in a semi-public building, so you have no idea who will be wandering at any moment. And two, I personally lost count of the number of times I've either been diverted, distracted, or grabbed for a meeting as I leave my desk, keeping me out of my office for longer periods of time than I expected. Every time you leave your computer alone and unlocked, locking your computer is easy. For Windows computers, simply hold down the Windows key and press L. If you have a Mac, you can set a password protected screensaver that comes up when you hold your mouse in one corner of the screen. Additional security. Just think about it. It's also important to keep your computer locked and any sensitive paper documents locked away in a file cabinet or other secure location. This is important because your desktop is where you do all your work. For example, you could be logged into many things at the same time, and then an unauthorized person could be at your computer for just 60 seconds. And they can cause real havoc and damage to your business, your college, or university, wherever. All it takes is a few minutes for someone to alter records, send a fraudulent email, or install a keyboard sniffer on your account. Unfortunately, cyber criminals are extremely persistent. Sooner or later, you may be compromised. In this section, we're going to talk about what to look for and how to respond when you've been attacked. Remember, the faster you realize you have been hacked, and the faster you notify someone and respond, the less damage cyber criminals can do. Unfortunately, there's no simple way to determine if you are hacked. Often, when your computer or your account is compromised, cyber criminals take steps to make it difficult for you to find out. Your computer may be reprogrammed to lie to you, to tell you everything is okay. However, there are some things you can look for as indicators that you've been hacked. First, your antivirus generates an alert. Your antivirus software should scan your computer every time you save, open, or run a file. If it finds a virus, your computer may have been attacked. You should get an alert for that. Second, your browser is taking you to unwanted websites or random websites open on your screen and you cannot close them. Sometimes cyber criminals will reprogram your computer to take you to websites that you do not want to go to. Third, when your passwords no longer work, cyber criminals will also often change your password after hacking your account so they can maintain control of it. Fourth, your friends or coworkers tell you they are receiving odd messages from you on Facebook, Twitter, or through email that you know you did not send. Finally, you believe you have accidentally installed suspicious software. Sometimes you may click or software you did not mean to install. Now you believe you may have affected your computer. So what do? You report the incident. If you think your computer is infected, contact your IT help desk immediately. Don't feel embarrassed or discounted as unimportant. For immediate help, call the IT help desk at your business or on campus, or you can usually submit an online work ticket. So it's important to remember for you to know that you think your computer may have been infected, you need to contact the IT help desk as soon as possible. The sooner they can get it contained, the sooner you can get back to work. It's far better to report a system that is not compromised than it is to fail to report a system that is compromised. If you notice or see suspicious activity or behavior, please contact your IT help desk immediately, okay? Either by phone or by email. I do have some tips for you, and the tips are about educating employees to stay safe. So this is just some lists that I got from Kaspersky Labs. So we want to talk about cybersecurity, and remember that management and IT are employees also. That it's only as good as its weakest link, which is usually the user. Have regular sessions of training. Explain social engineering activity. Train your users, your employees, to recognize attacks and make them be suspicious and raise red flags, and do employee software updates as soon as possible. Regularly test or quiz your employees or give them some more training. And feedback, listen and respond. Good ways to stay safe. To put it in another term, you could go this way. Make sure you, on the tech side of it, make sure you have all software updates installed. Use unique passwords, okay? Use two-factor authentication, okay? Which could be your thumbprint or Face ID. Use strong passwords. Use a password manager. Change your passwords. Do not share your info. Resist phishing and personal computer defenses and mobile defenses. So think about all those things to stay safe. In summary, these are the 3 simple rules to stay safe online. They're good for anybody and everyone. Stop, look, and think. Okay? If it looks suspicious, you can hit the delete key. Okay? If you spot a red flag, try to verify it. Okay? When in doubt, report and throw it out. There's 1,000 ways that internet criminals will try to scam you, and only one way to stay safe. Stay alert, as you are the last line of defense. Please go to your chat now and find the links for there'll be 2 links there for your IT checklist and a free ebook, a dummies book about cybersecurity that I thought might be helpful for some of you. And I do want to thank you for attending this session of cybersecurity awareness, because your participation and support keeps us all safe. It means a lot, and your support and participation keeps us safe, makes all schools and businesses a better place for everyone.
And, oh, sorry, go ahead, Karen.
if you want more information, this was just a training overview today. We actually have online modules developed. Becoming cybersecurity, which is free. Fundamentals of security for cybersecurity for employees, which is free. And fundamentals of cybersecurity for small business, where we can attach 8 different areas of business, okay, such as transportation or health.
And I don't have the IT Center of Excellence email handy,
Yeah,
so I've
it's
asked.
coming.
Okay,
Yeah,
it is coming.
coming.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And the IT Center of Excellence has what we call pathways. So like I said, we do everything from working with Minnesota Tech Network and Code Savvy to IT career exploration to Google certification, which we're doing. And we do soft skills, we do career highways, and we do internships. So if you have any needs for anything, please contact the IT Center for Excellence. There's their website, and there's a good email that will be answered, and there's a good phone number. So feel free to either write it down or get your phone and take a quick snapshot, which is what I do.